Mind Beyond Mind. Author Acharya Mahaprayani. If one does not know how to swim, he needs a boat to cross the river. If he wanted to cross the river of life, he would need a special kind of boat. Bhavana is such a boat. One can use it at any time he likes. It is capable of carrying him to any destination he likes to go to. Bhavana means repeating an idea or thought time and time again. According to Patanjali meditation, it has three forms. Dhyana, idea or image formation. Dhyana, contemplation and samadhi, ecstasy. According to the Jain disciplines, they are bhavana, dhyana, and samadhi. Dharma and dhyana are one and the same. Bhavana may be described as contemplation of the mind on some object, mental or objective. It is the first stage. Dhyana is the second, and samadhi the third. Dhyana, contemplation on some object, and japa, chanting of a mantra, belongs to the same category. The difference in the terms has been dictated by practical necessities. Japa means concentration on the image of some person or object and absorption in it. Bhavana, sayana, dharma, and darshana are identical states of the mind. Bhavana Maharana said that the soul, which has become pure through Bhavana Yoga, is like a boat capable of reaching the shores of the sea of life at any time. The only question is how to use it. It is essential to be seized of the idea or image, to be contemplated, and a complete absorption in it. The Aganas, Jain scriptures speak of a class of monks called Bhavavantanas, completely absorbed. This absorption enables the practitioner to enter into any state of mind he likes. The human mind is capable of assuming any form or state. Bhavana is an implement of bringing about a transformation of the mind into any state. Mental changes bring about changes in the body also. An American youth happened to come in contact with a French girl. Both fell in love with each other. When the question of marriage came up, the young man said that he would marry her only after he had begun to earn. The girl agreed. The young man returned to the States in search of a job. It took a few years for him to earn a little fortune. During his absence, the girl began to have doubts. She thought that with the passage of time, she might lose her charm about the boy. When he returned, he may not like her anymore. She therefore decreed a means of keeping her youth and other attractiveness intact. She would stand before a mirror and feel that she was still young and charming. She continued this practice for years and years together. Eventually, the young man returned. He too had been assailed by uncertainties and doubts about his beloved. She might have changed physically and lost much of her former charm, he thought. But when he met her, she was pleasantly surprised to find her as charming, as young as she was when he first left her. The girl had practiced Bhavana, and that was the secret of her maintaining her youth and charm. There are thousands of the applications Bhavana, and the Jain tradition as immensely valued by Jnana Yoga. Take, for example, the game of bullfight. The man who fights the bull applies the force of Jnana in meeting the infuriated animal. He develops the proper mood, comes in form to fight the bull, and feels himself superior to it. The terrible change of the animal is rendered unaffected by the sheer force of Bhavana on the part of the man. Bhavana is also capable of producing material effects. These effects comprise of removing the difficulties of others, cunning, diseases, bringing about a change of heart in others, and affected them mentally. It does bring about change in the practitioner. It can cure physical and mental deformities. It can be applied to immeasurable situations. Autosuggestion is kind of a jnana, and is immensely useful in curing diseases by a sheer mental exertion of the patient. Let us now examine the role played by Jnana in sadhana. The Jain tradition lays great stress on Jnana as an implement of samara, which more than other traditions according to the Jain classifications. There are 4 kinds of bhavana. There's jnana bhavana, kasavya bhavana, tapa bhavana, and vajnana bhavana. The practitioner of Jnana Yoga must first master jnana bhavana. He must consolate his thought process and must put a stop to their succession. The succession of thoughts may also be helpful in the earlier stages. Sometimes the repetition of a particular thought produces its corresponding mood of jnana. We are influenced by deeds as well as thoughts. When we concentrate on our ideas or thoughts, they begin to seize us. They become a second nature in us, so to say. How should, then, we bring about changes in ourselves through jnana? The first step is to choose an objective or what we propose to do or become. One may choose to be a poet or a philosopher. He may like to be a writer or a scholar. The next step is to enter into the proper mood for the achievement of this objective. For this purpose, he should rely into a solitary place and sit with his body completely immobilized. He should also relax his mind. There should be no physical or mental tension in him. The purpose of the practice at this stage is to push the object from the conscious to the subconscious part of the mind. Jnana means the predominance of the subconscious as against the conscious part of the mind. The object, when it is transferred from the conscious to the subconscious part, becomes embodied therein. A new, completely relaxed mind and body are essential to the transportation of the object. The subconscious mind becomes activated. The next step is to repeat the word, symbolizing the object of meditation. First with the medium pitch of the voice, and then with a louder pitch. This should be done for at least 10 minutes. During this, for a shorter period of time will not do. This should be done every day. Therefore, should not be any break in the practice. The practitioner should be able to behave like the object. Sooner or later, he will achieve his aim. Nobody can be religious and search the higher planes of meditation except through Jnana, which is the precondition of physical, mental, and intellectual development, we have to employ several means for the achievement of our idea. For this purpose, we have to be very careful in removing from our minds every kind of delusion. We all have to discard everything which produces delusion. Vaivana means identification with the idea. Karma. I was a child of the 60s. When I was about 13 years old, I heard the word karma. If a person did a good action, we would say, that person has good karma. If a person did something that was not appropriate, we would say, that person performed bad karma. Mind you, it was just the beginning of my journey to understanding karma and how it affects the entire universe. Only having this fundamental understanding is not enough. This is just skimming the surface of the ocean of life. Did you know that 95% of your actions come from your subconscious mind? Experts estimate that the mind thinks between 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts a day. That's an average of 2,500 to 3,300 thoughts per hour. That's incredible. Other experts estimate a smaller number of 50,000 thoughts per day, which means about 2,100 thoughts per hour. Wow, when we think we are awake, it seems like the video game is stacked against us. Imagine playing a poker game and the dealer stacks the cards. You could never win this game. But the great mystics of old understood the rules and how to play the game of life. How do they understand these rules? They went through the same issues you are going through. With proper understanding, wisdom, and knowledge, they began to see, not by only knowing the rules, but how to play the game properly. This makes all the difference in the world. One may know the rules perfectly. One may know them inside and out. Yet one who does not play the game consistently will never understand this riddle. Today, the West has embraced these progressive ideas that the Jains have been practicing for thousands of years. Unfortunately, they never praise the Jains for the principles they've been practicing for thousands of years. Maybe it's better that way. The Jains don't want to be praised. The Jains simply want to change this world for the better. I see these ideas implemented in all sorts of different ways. In the past 10 years, so much research has been done on the mind-body-soul connection. It is simply mind-boggling. 50 years ago, we hardly had a clue. Today, this knowledge is getting to be more and more mainstream. The ideas seem fresh, yet they are extremely old. They come in new and different packaging, which is all right. These ideas need to be repackaged for the present day. It would be fascinating to have all these leaders come together and have a brainstorming session about incorporating the past and the future. We could go a long ways with this. Jane's understanding of a great society has been around for thousands of years. Maybe, just maybe, we should have them help us along the way. We have a lot to learn from them. The more I learn about them, the more impressed I am. Influx of karmas. Ashrav. Ashrav means inflow, and according to Jain philosophy, defined as the inflow of karmas to the soul. The influx of karmas occurs at every second in life. It is this process that keeps our souls wandering in this universe and prevents us from becoming free. Let us say that you went boating or having a good time. Suddenly, you notice water springing from the floor of the boat. What would you go through in your mind? What would you do? The first thing is you would go through your mind is that there is a hole. Let me fix the hole before the boat sinks. You may be lucky it was just one hole, but there could be more than one. In this same way, we know that karmas are accumulating in our souls through one or more of our activities, and unless we stop them today, they are going to choose your soul. You are drinking your own poison. Did you know that thousands of years ago, the great teachers taught that you are drinking your own poison when you have evil thoughts? I'm sure many people back then laughed at that statement. It's only been 20 years that scientifically they have proved that this is true. Each time you get angry, there are over 1,500 chemicals that gets released into the bloodstream. Worldwide, millions of people can't go to sleep at night due to this. They can't seem to find out a way how to stop and turn off the faucet of adrenaline. Therefore, they can't sleep at night. This is a major problem worldwide. In the West, we were never taught about how to embrace the mind, body, and soul connection. Just think, it wasn't until the 1980s that Western scientists began to study the science of happiness. Mind you, this has been going on in the East for thousands of years. The West, as it seems, only studied the negative aspects of the mind. What a huge difference. Jain, compassion. The values of Jain religion are based on the 5 vows: non-violence, devotion to truth, non-stealing, celibacy, and non-possession. The entire lifestyle of the Jains emanates from these vows, and the foremost is non-violence, ahimsa. Non-violence has been the sheet anchor of Jainism. Ahimsa is one of the basic virtues. Nowhere else in the other religious traditions has this basic virtue been so scientifically, scrupulously, and thoroughly integrated with the main doctrine. Jainism is the only tradition which has consistently allowed this tenet soak into the very essentials of this teaching and practices. This singular, unaccomplished emphasis on ahimsa is the special and exclusive feature of Jainism. In Jainism, ahimsa is not mere human sympathy, it is empathy, the urge to identify oneself completely with other persons, other living beings, with the whole universe. Bhagwan Mahavir said, "If you kill someone, it is yourself you kill. If you overpower someone, it is yourself you overpower. If you torment someone, it is yourself you torment. If you harm someone, It is yourself you are. A wise man knows this, and so he does not kill, nor does he overpower or torment anyone. The heart of Jainism is nonviolence. Positively stated, Jainism is a religion of compassion, universal love, and friendliness. It aims at the welfare of all living beings, and not of man alone. It maintains that living beings are infinite. All so-called empty spaces in the universe are filled with minute living beings. According to it, there are countless single-sense organisms that take the subtest possible universe of material elements, earth, water, fire, and air, as their bodies. Fresh earth is alive, but when it is baked, it becomes dead. Fresh water from a well, etc., is alive, but when it is boiled or influenced by mixing some other substance, it becomes dead. Vegetables, trees, plants, fruits, etc., do have life, but when they are dried, cut, or cooked, they die. To avoid injury to them as far as possible, man is advised to use them discreetly. He should resist from polluting water, air, etc., and therefore perpetrating violence to them. Worms, insects, animals, etc. help in keeping ecological balance, thus they help man. And domestic animals have for ages been a constant and faithful aid to man in cultivating himself. From the ultimate standpoint of the original pure pristine state, all living beings are uniforms in their nature. Jainism teaches to look upon them as upon one's own self. Inflicting injury to them is inflicting injury to one's self. The Jain dictum Paryushan Jiva, that living beings render service to one another, offers an enduring alternative to the modern Darwin formula of survival of the fittest. The life of a living being is a life of mutual cooperation. Industry, labor, service, and sacrifice, and innumerable living beings are there behind the substance and growth of an individual. Thus, every individual is embedded to the universal society of all beings. Even virtues and meticulous qualities can never be cultivated and fostered in isolation. The concept of ahisma, nonviolence, has evolved from logical thinking and from experience. It has an almost empirical basis. It has emerged from the doctrine of the equality of all souls. Everyone wants to live. Nobody likes to die. Violence enters first in thought. It then manifests itself in speech, and then in deeds. This is why they say that war is born in the minds of man. The quest for ahisma is centered in the philosophy which accommodates a multiplicity of points of view and of perspectives. In Jain philosophy, ahisma is said to be the supreme religion, and hinsa is considered to be a source of all evil and of all miseries. Ahisma is not limited to not harming the human beings. It extends to all living beings. This philosophy believes in the unity of life and regards all living beings as equal. He who cannot be cruel to animals can be cruel to human beings too. Further, cruelty is not only an aspect of external behavior, but is also an inner evil tendency. He who is cruel at heart will behave cruelly towards animals as well as human beings. He whose compassionate heart will behave compassionately towards all. Moreover, the Jain religion believes in the cycle of birth and rebirth. This soul is in one existence. Today it may be another. Tomorrow it may be a fly and a human tomorrow. This being so, man has no right to harm other living creations. One should behave sympathetically towards all, friends as well as foes. In fact, there should be no enemy. Such is the importance of Ahimsa in Jain's philosophy. Nothing is higher than the Meru mountain. Nothing is vaster than the sky. Similarly, there is no better religion than Ahimsa. It is one of the tenets of Jainism that all living beings desire life and not death. No one has the right to take away the life of any other being. To kill a living being is the greatest of sins. Life is dear to everyone, and we must have respect for life. Not only love and let live, but live and help others. Live should be our principle, just as the head of a family looks after the welfare of the members of the family. A human being who enjoys the highest place in the evolution of life should look after the welfare of other lower orders of creations. The universe is full of living creations, big and small, and therefore it is impossible to exist without killing or injuring some of the smallest of the living beings. Even in the process of breathing or drinking or eating, we almost unconsciously kill many sentient beings. Therefore, according to Jainism, the minimum of killing should be our ideal. Moreover, it is more serious when killing is done intentionally or through indifference. Therefore, great care should be taken along our daily activities to see that the minimum of violence is committed by our deeds, speech, and mind. In the universe, there are different forms, different orders of life, such as human beings, animals, insects, trees and plants, bacteria, and even still smaller lives, which perhaps can only be seen through the most powerful of microscopes. Jainism has classified all living beings according to their sense organs. Jainism firmly believes that life is sacred, irrespectively of caste, color, creed, or nationality, and therefore not only physical or mental energy should be avoided, but all possible kindness should be shown towards all the living beings. This should be the true spirit of Ahimsa. Jainism believes that more weapons are in no way an effective answer to weapons. Lord Mahavir has said, empathetically declared in the sutra, that one's weapon may be stronger or superior to another, but the pain of Ahimsa or peace remains unsurpassed. Fire cannot be put out by fire. It is our duty to stop adding fuel to the fire. Jain scriptures say that a piece of blood-stained cloth cannot be washed with blood. We need water to do it. To achieve peace, world peace, we have to stop the race of ornaments, and we have to have an unshakable faith in Satya Darshan, in the effective validity of Ahimsa. For who can come first and become absolutely victory in the race for ornaments? Like Arjuna, the nations believing in violent means should have to be declared, nor do we know which for us is better, whether we conquer them or they conquer us. Ahisma teaches that recourse to armed force is an infallible sign of the battle in man, that war neither profits the victor nor the vanquished. Jain Compassion, Part 2. Ahimsa, Nonviolence. The Jain ecological philosophy is virtually synonymous with the principle of ahimsa, which runs through the Jain tradition like a golden thread. Ahimsa parno dharma. Nonviolence is the supreme religion. Mahavira, the 24th Jain, and the last pathfinder of this era, who lived 2,500 years ago in northern India, consolidated the basic Jain teachings of peace, harmony, and renunciation, taught 2 centuries earlier by the other masters, and for thousands of years previously by the 24 other Tikkharas of this era, beginning with Adhara, Rishtridvara. Mahavira threw new light on the perennial quest of the soul for the truth and discipline of Ahimsa. He said, "There's nothing so small and subtle as the atom, nor any element so vast as space. Similarly, there is no quality of soul more subtle than nonviolence, and the virtue of spirit greater than reverence for life." Ahimsa is a principle that Jain teach and practice not only towards human beings, but towards all nature. It is an unequivocal teaching that is at once ancient and contemporary. The scriptures tell us all the arhats, venerable ones of the past, present, and future discourses, conceal, proclaim, propound, and prescribe thus in unison: do not injure, abuse, oppress, enslave, insult, torment, torture, or kill any creature or any living being. In this strife-torn world of hatred and hostilities, aggression and aggrandizement, and of unscrupulous and unbridled exploitation and consumerism, the Jain perspective finds the evil of violence with at large. The teachings of Ahimsa refers not only to wars and visible physical acts of violence, but also in the violence in the hearts and minds of human beings. Their lack of concern and compassion for their fellow humans and for the natural world. Ancient Jain texts explain that violence is not defined by actual harm, for this may be unintentional. It is the intention to harm, the absence of compassion, that makes action violent. Without violent thought, there can be no violent actions. When violence enters our thoughts, we remember Tikandra Mahavira's words: "You are which you intend to hit, injure, insult, torment, persecute, torture, enslave, or kill." Mahavira proclaimed a profound truth for all times to come when he said, "One who neglects or disregards the existence of earth, air, fire, water, and vegetation disregards his own existence, which is entwined with them." Jain cosmology recognizes the fundamental nature phenomena of synthesis or mutual dependence, upon which forms the basic of modern-day science of ecology. It is relevant to recall that the term ecology was coined in the later half of the 19th century from the Greek word oikos, meaning home, a place to which one returns. Ecology is the branch of biology which deals with the relationship of organisms to their surroundings and to other organisms. The ancient Jain scripture aphorism, "All life is bound together by mutual support and interdependence," is refreshingly contemporary in its premise and perspective. It defines the scope of modern ecology while extending it to be a more spacious whole. It means that all aspects of nature belong together and are bound in a physical as well as a metaphysical relationship. Life is viewed as a gift of togetherness, accommodation, and assistance in a universe teeming with interdependent constituents. The definition of manifold aspects, the concept of universal interdependence, underpins the Jain's theory of knowledge known as the Doctrine of Manifold Aspects. It describes the world as a multifaceted, ever-changing reality with an infinite number of viewpoints depending upon the time, place, nature, and state of one who is the viewer and that which is viewed. This leads to the doctrine of relativity, which states that truth is relative to different viewpoints. What is truth from one point of view is open to question from another. Absolute truth cannot be grasped from any particular viewpoint alone, because absolute truth is the sum total of all different viewpoints that make up the universe. Because it is rooted in the doctrines, Jainism does not look back upon the universe from an anthropomorphic perspective. It takes into account the viewpoints of all other species, other communities, and nations, and other human beings. Equanimity, that is the discipline of nonviolence, the recognition of universal interdependence, and the logic of the doctrine of manifold aspects leads inexplicably to the avoidance of dogmatic, intolerant, inflexible, aggressive, harmful, and unilateral attitude towards the world around. It inspires the personal quest of every Jain for equanimity towards both jiva, animate beings, and inanimate substances and objects. Encourages an attitude of give and take and of live and let live. It creates a pragmatic peace plan based not only on the domination of nature, nation, or other people, but on an equanimity of mind devoted to the perseverance, to the preservation, the balance of the universe. Compassion, empathy, and charity. Although the term ahisma is stupid in the negative, A equals non, hisma is equals violence, it is rooted in a host of positive aims and actions which have greater relevance to contemporary environmental concerns. Ahisma is an aspect of Daya, compassion, empathy, and charity, described by a great Jain teacher as the benefit mother of all beings, and the elixir for those who wander in suffering through the ocean of successive rebirths. Jiva Daya means caring for and sharing with all living beings, tending, protecting, and serving them. It entails universal friendliness, universal forgiveness, and universal fearlessness. Jains, whether monks, nuns, or householders, therefore, affirm prayerfully and sincerely that their heart is filled with forgiveness for all living beings, that they have sought and received the forgiveness of all other beings, that they crave the friendship of all beings, that all beings give them their friendship, and that there is not the slightest feeling of alienation or enmity in their heart for anyone or anything. They also pray that forgiveness and friendliness may reign throughout the world, and that all living beings may cherish each other.